All right, here we go. History department. This is a first. I'm saying it like I've been doing this for a long time, but this is my first extra history video. You guys suggested quite a few channels, actually. I think I got like 8 channels now that I'll be reacting to or trying to react to. I don't know if this is going to go up green or not, but we're going to see. Everybody say I need to do the first Opium War. So this is my first extra history video. It's titled First Opium War, Trade Deficits and the Macartney Embassy, Part 1. Let's get it. Let's see what they was doing over the dope. Let's go.
In 1792, Britain has just come out of a war that's cost it not only much of its national treasury, but also one of its most lucrative overseas colonies, North America. The empire needs new sources of revenue, new opportunities for trade, and there's one clear possibility: China. By the end of the 18th century, the world had become a much smaller place, with European traders traveling the globe to feed the hungry markets of the industrializing West. Wars were fought all over the planet to secure exotic goods or the raw materials needed to power new economies of the rising European empires. But China still remained aloof. Demand for Chinese goods was high. Silk, porcelain, and especially tea were coveted by buyers back in Europe. But the Chinese emperors saw all these foreign traders as a potentially destabilizing influence, and as they had done throughout Chinese history, placed strict controls on foreign trade. Specifically, they limited trade to just a few ports. Traders weren't allowed to set foot in the empire except at a handful of cities designated for that purpose. And all trade had to go through a trade monopoly known as the Hong, who could tax and regulate foreign trade as they saw fit. By the middle of the 18th century, this was taken further, and all foreign trade was restricted to a single port, Canton. This drove resentment among the European traders.
History fascinates me, man. That, like, humans, just like us, just like me, watching this, just like you at home, like, that man was like, let me step back and look at this shit real quick. I don't like that. I don't like that. That could become a threat. All right, this is what I'm going to do. And he created rules that the world had to comply with. Like the world. Like, look at this little angry. He's mad that he has to follow these rules. That's amazing to me, bro, that somebody, just a fucking human, had that power and made it happen. Like, bro, this is my country, bro. You got to do what I say, or you don't get nothing. No spices, no dope, no silk, no t-shirts, no electronics, no nothing. That's so fire to me, man.
By the middle of the 18th century, this was taken further, and all foreign trade was restricted to a single port, Canton. This drove resentment among the European traders who saw limitless opportunity for profit if they could just get their hands on it. And those Europeans trading in China were, in some ways, a self-selecting group. If you're gonna make your living transporting goods thousands of miles from your home, you probably believe in the inherent value of unrestricted trade, which meant that these rules did not sit well with the Europeans, and piracy and smuggling began to rise. Even within the official channels of trade, merchants began to strain at these limitations. Eventually, an employee of the Honorable East India Company, the militarized trade organization responsible for British affairs in India, pushed by what he saw as abuses of corrupt officials and undue restrictions on free trade, decided that it was time to openly break the rules that the Chinese imposed. He left Canton and took his grievances upriver, literally and figuratively, wanting to be heard by someone in the Chinese hierarchy who was outside the Hong, outside the monopoly set up in Canton. And here's where divides of culture come in, because it's possible that he wasn't acting in a way that he saw as malicious or even inappropriate. In fact, he may have been acting in a way that he thought of as perfectly reasonable were he in.
And there goes that human nature again. So this man think he could just go into another country, break the rules, and somehow, in some way, it's not wrong. Am I hearing this correctly, y'all? This man is pissed because The dope man got the dope. And the dope man set strict rules if you want the dope. And he's like, no, but I want the dope how I want the dope. So I'm about to go talk to somebody else because I don't think I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong coming into your house and goddamn demanding stuff. Am I hearing this right? Maybe I need to play it some more to make sure that I'm... Let's see.
Or even inappropriate. In fact, he may have been acting in a way that he thought of as perfectly reasonable were he in England. But he wasn't in England, and the arrogance of this traitor just deciding that his complaints should be elevated to imperial court rather than going through the proper authorities was unbelievable to the Chinese.
Facts.
More than that, it put into question whether these Europeans would stay in one port at all, or even obey Chinese law. And so further restrictions were put into place. Trade was clamped down on even more. But European demands for Chinese goods, especially English demands for their newfound love of black tea, continued to grow, which brings us back to 1792. By this point, the British were importing tens of millions of pounds of tea every year. Within 2 decades, import duties on tea would account for 10% of the government's entire revenue. Tea was one of the major drivers of the...
Bruh, is that much tea? They like tea that much. I was just watching the new Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz movie, which I can't even believe they got them acting in like these dollar movies like this. Oh God. Anyways, and the mother, I forget the actress name. God, y'all gonna kill me for this. God, I don't want to say the name who I think it is, but anyways, she's British and she's talking about tea. In the whole movie, like they shooting and taking people down, murking people, and she talking about tea or you forgot your heritage. Like, is that serious? A spot of tea is like that serious that it costs an entire country 10% of their revenue. That's how into tea they are. That's crazy, man.
Pounds of tea every year. Within 2 decades, import duties on tea would account for 10% of the government's entire revenue. Tea was one of the major drivers of the economy. Tea was so essential to the British world that the Canton system was simply no longer acceptable. And more than that, the British were now running an enormous trade deficit with the Chinese. Millions of pounds of silver were flowing out of the British Empire and into China. On top of that, recent European struggles had cut them off from the silver mines of South America, and costly foreign wars had left the treasury dry. Even the Honorable East India Company was broke, incurring a huge debt to finance their military conquests of parts of India. The British Empire, for all of its power and its wealth, for all its global might and territory in every region of the globe, simply did not have the raw currency it needed to continue paying for its tea habit. So, the British decided that it was time to finally send an official diplomatic mission to China. No more traders, merchants, or pirates. This was going to be a real envoy from one monarch to another to talk about opening up trade. After some consideration, it was decided that the first Earl of Macartney, a seasoned colonial governor, should lead the mission. His aims were simple.
Wait. Let me catch up, just so I'm clear, y'all. Y'all telling me that governments go broke. Right? And they want their tea. Like, does this really stem from tea? Or is that just like like this is really about tea? This not about tea. Ain't no way them folks said, bro, we need our tea. To hell with everything else. We got to go talk to these folks. But not y'all. Y'all gonna cause wars and stuff. We gonna go. Like the big dogs gonna go. And we gonna talk about getting this tea brought in. Like, that's what's happening. That's what governments go broke. And they like, look, bro, yeah, we broke, but we need our tea. So let's go talk to these folks about this damn black tea. That's what's happening. I feel like I'm a little off, but I think that's what I'm hearing.
Macartney, a seasoned colonial governor, should lead the mission. His aims were simple: end the Canton system, establish a permanent embassy, or at least get a permanent British representative in the imperial court, and, if possible, secure the grant of a small island off the coast of China where British merchants could operate under British rather than Chinese law. So they packed the hold of a ship with clocks and telescopes and even carriages to be presented to the Chinese emperor and began their trip. They sailed east around the Cape of Good Hope, with only one minor detour when the trade winds pushed them all the way to Rio de Janeiro. At last, though, they arrived in China. They immediately asked to dock at a port much closer to Beijing than Canton. This was considered bad form by the Chinese, but representatives of the East India Company explained that they had expensive gifts for the emperor on board, and didn't want any of them to get ruined in a long overland journey, so the Chinese acquiesced. They and their goods were ferried up the Grand Canal to Beijing, and here they assembled their gifts and prepared for the last leg of their journey, over the Great Wall and to the Emperor's summer palace at Jahal. Here they finally met the Emperor. And trouble began immediately. Because in the presence of the Emperor, it was expected that everyone kowtow, or kneel and bow so low that their head touched the floor. And Macartney, being a seasoned British governor and gentleman, hailing from what he believed was the most powerful and civilized nation in the world with, as he saw it, the most divine monarch, and not only the right but the duty to spread the British way around the globe, refused to do so.
You see, bruh, this is what I'm saying, man. This is what I'm saying, bruh. The arrogance, man. So you telling me that these folks devised the plan back at home, saying we're going to go to these folks' country and our mission is to set up shop, right? We don't want to go to war and take the land because we can't afford it because we broke because we done spent 10% on tea, right? So we need to find another way, which is politely go ask them, which you're really not doing that. You're really being a dickhead is really what you're doing. That's really what you guys are doing. You're trying to go there and you think you're superior and you're going to convince these people to let you come in on their land, set up an embassy, set up a shop, own an island, bring y'all laws to the island, and basically somehow in some way think you about to take over some type of industry over there, right? That's what I'm thinking. And with all of this planned, you're supposed to be playing nice. You get to the man. Everybody's expected to bow. You're in there. If that man came to your land, you expect him to greet the queen and the king how y'all greet him. But y'all don't think y'all got to do that in their land? That's just like when Americans go out of town, bruh. I can't stand this. When we go out of town and we go to Spain or we go to Australia or we go to Portugal, we call them foreigners. Like what is wrong with us? Like the arrogance is insane to me. And maybe I'm supposed to like this guy. I don't know. I still got a couple minutes left in the story. But right now I'm not feeling this. I'm not feeling this dude. I'm not. This is crazy. Bow. Put your fucking forehead on the floor and get what you needed, bruh.
After all, if he wasn't going to touch his head to the floor for King George, he certainly wasn't going to do it here. So, after some wrangling and protestations, he proposed a counter-solution. He would perform the kowtow so long as, every time it was done, a Chinese official of equal rank would kowtow to a picture of George III. This was, of course, ludicrous to the Chinese, as, after all, they were from the most powerful and civilized nation in the world, with the most divine monarch, and who was this barbarian to try to put his king on anything like the emperor's level? Seriously. But even without the kowtow issue...
Bro, y'all need what they have. To think that you're still superior. It's crazy to me, man. Bruh. What the fuck? This is like the first video I've gotten upset about. What the fuck is wrong with people, man?
Most powerful and civilized nation in the world, with the most divine monarch, and who was this barbarian to try to put his king on anything like the emperor's level? Seriously. But even without the kowtow issue truly resolved, with Macartney merely genuflecting in the end, as he would to King George, the meeting went forward. Macartney showed off the marvels of British science, although mostly the flashier and less practical kind, and presented them to the emperor. And here too, signals got crossed, because the Chinese court took this as a tribute mission. After all gift-giving missions to the emperor are tribute missions. What else would it be? And yet the British thought that they were demonstrating all the reasons that China would benefit from opening up trade with them. So in the end, Macartney was dismissed without the emperor agreeing to a single one of the goals he set out to achieve. And the emperor sent one of the most gloriously...
I could be cheering for the wrong side. I don't know, y'all. But in this video, in this 7 minutes and 44 seconds, I'm applauding.
Imperially snarky letters ever penned to King George, thanking him for his tribute, which, though neither he nor the Chinese actually wanted it, he would graciously accept out of respect for how far George had sent people just to pay him tribute. But no, China didn't need baubles or knickknacks from England, thank you. Trade would remain the way it was. So Britain was left with a massive trade deficit. The East India Company was £28 million in debt as a result of their war in India, and the royal coffers were nearly dry. They needed to find some product the Chinese wanted. And then they did. Opium.
Oh, that's right. Is there more? No, there's no more. That's right. I think there's six parts. I saw a playlist for opium, but I didn't know if that was what I was supposed to be. Damn, I kind of want to do all these right now. But I gotta go get my son from school. Oh, God. Hey, I hope at the end of this, it pans out for both sides, man. I don't know. They still standing, so maybe it did. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. That was a good one. I got a little in my feelings about that one. Humans, man. God, bro. Humans, bro. We slick suck. Anyways, like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll catch y'all on part 2, I guess. I'm out. Peace.